When God chooses a people, it's a scary thing. When a spirit looks upon you and says he wants you, it's a very scary thing. Because you can't serve a spirit until you are colonized. So when a spirit indicates interest in your life, it means your life is gone. When you gave your heart to Christ, you actually didn't give him your life, you received his life. But when God says he wants to use you, that time he came to take your life. So at new birth, we receive the life of God. But in service, God receives our life. So when God says he wants to use a people, it's a scary thing. Because one, you lose your life. And number two, that you lose your life does not mean you will be approved of that spirit. Because you may give up your life, and while you're on the way, other things will come in. And then the life you lost will count for nothing. Because after you have journeyed for many years, you will now decide to take another route. You won't journey to the end. That one now you'll be lost. So when God comes for a people, it calls for sober reflection. And this evening, I want to show us 4 organic things that we must sustain consciously and keep as we walk with God to the end of our journey. You see, when you walk with a spirit, the norms are not the factors to consider. It is the organic things that happen within you and between you and the spirit that counts. God can be using a man mightily, and then you look around that man and see the things the man is doing, and then you photocopy it. It's good at the periphery. But when you journey with that spirit for a while, organic realities will be born in your spirit. Those things are your strongholds. The externalities are not too important. You may lose the organic realities and still be doing all kinds of activities. The spirit doesn't know you anymore. Because what binds you and that spirit is the organic cord, the lively cords between you and the spirit. Because that's where you find your peculiarity. And that's where you find your place in the operations of that spirit. The physical things are generic. But when you want to do kingdom business, there must be something that ties you with the spirit you are working with. That thing is what gives you a place. When you lose it, the essence of what you are doing is already gone. And you may do the activities until you leave this world. But you will discover you didn't work with that spirit because he won't know you. And I will pick 4 of them this evening just to help us to understand better. You know, sometimes as a traveling minister, I move around for a long time and then I stop sensing God. I still come for the meeting. I know what to do to jack the atmosphere. People are falling, the power of God is moving, people are healed. And then I come back and tell them, I didn't ascend. And then the people, with all these things that happen with the ascension is not about what happened. It's about the romance that goes on between you and the Holy Ghost. You will not sense it, but so much will be happening. And then people will be, hey, a great man of God. If you look at what is happening, you are gone. Because over time, when you start looking for that spirit, you can't find him anymore. Because the men that walk with God, they search for God in the spirit. You know, the Bible said in Exodus 20:21, it said Moses stepped into the deep darkness where God was. He looked for him. He could pick the movement of God any day, anytime. Israel were carried away by the power. So you came for a meeting. There was power, but you couldn't trace God. God hid himself because what God is looking for is intimacy. You are looking for manifestation. A demon can give manifestation, but the man that can find God, you look for him until you found where he was and you pitch your tent there. And sometimes you forget the meeting. That's the life of Jesus. Sometimes Jesus comes for a crusade. The people gather. And then he sneaks out through the back door. And you hear that Jesus entered into the mountain. They don't enter mountains, they climb mountain. But what he's telling you, he's not ascending a physical mountain. He's entering into the belly of God to find the intimacy that he had with him before the foundation of the world. Because his activity on earth will count for nothing until he holds that intimacy. That was his watchword while he walked there. Even when he was on the cross, the Bible never recorded that he cried when they nailed him. When the nails pierced him, he never cried. The Bible didn't record. When they plunged him, they didn't record. But the moment sin came upon him and God turned, he said, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani. My God, my God. For the first time, he couldn't find the Father. Why the nails were going on, it wasn't a problem. Why they were beating him, it wasn't a problem. Because he was with the Father. But the moment the Father turned, Eloi, Eloi, I can't find the Father. For the first time, Jesus was searching in the spirit and he couldn't see the Father. Where art thou? You know, men don't know the value of intimacy. Meanwhile, God stepped into the garden. Adam was still functioning as a God. He ruled over the garden. And when God showed up, he said, Adam, Adam, where art thou? You are still naming animals. Meanwhile, you are falling from your throne. I can't see you in my radar. You are lost from my radar, but you are doing activity in the garden. Where art thou? They are organic reality. And you are not numbered until you carry those things. Because when God numbers men, it is your connection with God that is your number. It's not the number of people in the auditorium. It's not moved by those who gather. It's moved by those who are connected vitally to him. So sometimes when prayer is going on, that's when some people find their God. And then they follow it until they touch God. They have had their own service. Their service has finished. They have touched God. The other worship, we thank God, we are worshiping. But we have touched God. They have appeared in Zion. Meanwhile, the other is when worship is going on. That's where they find their God. And they journey into Zion. And they touch him. Let me not preach from body. Let's read the Bible, a book. If you know the number of people that don't know when last they touch God, you cry. Meanwhile, we gather in thousands. We are saying, revival, revival. We are the one God is using. Who? Sorry. Let me read the Bible. Genesis chapter 1 verse 1. You know,